Hello and welcome, Louisa Jewell here. I'm just thrilled to be joined today by Fatima Zaidi. Thank you so much for being here today, Fatima.
Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it.
Well, let me tell you a little bit more about Fatima and why I'm just so thrilled to be speaking to her today. So, she is the founder and CEO at Quill Inc., which is an award winning production agency specializing in corporate audio and co host a podcast growth and analytics tool. Now, she works with some of the largest brands in North America and reaches a global audience for Quill's clients. And Quill produces content that is results oriented, engaging, and entertainment. The Globe and Mail recently named Quill as one of Canada's top six growing companies. And over the past few years, Fatima has won two top 30 under 30 awards, the Young Professional of the Year by Notable Life, Veuve Clicquot's Bold Future Award, the Women in Content Marketing Award, and she's also been named one of Flair magazine's top 100 women. But this is something I really love outside of entrepreneurship. Fatima is co-chair of the Tech for Sick Kids Council for Sick Kids Hospital, which is the second largest pediatric research hospital in the world. And she is on track to raise $25 million to build a new emergency wing of the hospital, as well as fund some of the world's biggest data and AI projects. What a dynamic biography here, Fatima.
Thank you.
I love to, I'm just always so inspired by female entrepreneurs. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate the kind intro. And I was listening to you read the bio. I was like, maybe it's time to tweak it up a little bit. It feels so listicle, but we're very fortunate for the growth that we've seen.
Yes. Well, fortunate too, because you've made it happen. It's really, really incredible what you've been able to create, and it's a lot of hard work. Now, just for our audience, I recently met Fatima at an entrepreneurs panel, and there was one thing that she said that caught my attention. She said that her people are the most important thing in her business. So let's start there, Fatima. When you talk to some of the top business leaders, you expect them to say profits first or, cash flow is king or whatever. And so when I heard you say that, I thought, this is really different. So why is it so personally important for you to put your people first?
So we launched Quill in 2019, and it was right before the pandemic. So, a year before the world shut down. And it was a really interesting time for me because, we're thinking about what the evolution of Quill could look like, and we completely bootstrapped the business. We made the strategic decision to not bring in any outside capital. So we are not backed by any VCs or angel investors. I put $10,000 of my own money in to scale Quill to where it is today. And I think to this day, my greatest sort of sense of accomplishment is the fact that nobody has left the company. Nobody has wanted to walk away from the culture that we've built. And I think that it is very, very short-sighted for founders and CEOs and executive teams to not be thinking about how they can proactively retain their talent, especially if you have an amazing team, which I do, because it can be the most costly mistake that you end up paying the price for over the longer term. I truly think that one of the reasons we've been so successful, and we just actually hit the Globe and Mail's fastest growing company list in Canada, and the reason I think that we've grown so quickly and seen the growth that we have is because of the culture that we've built, and we haven't spent a moment of our time thinking about how we can replace staff or, transfer proprietary knowledge or all of the experience that they've built. Rather, our staff has continued to grow and level up and expand on their skill sets, move around within the company, and also hit their personal goals as well. I think being a successful founder is building a culture, not that is a sweatshop, but a culture where people can be well-rounded employees and have the space to do so.
Yeah, no, that's great. And so, and that's what, it's so interesting because turnover is not a line item on the profit and loss statement. So it doesn't often show up, but it's great that you've got an eye because you're right. It costs a lot of time and money when somebody leaves in exactly what you were talking about. You have to find somebody new. So there's recruiting costs, there's knowledge transfer costs, there's knowledge
Mhm.
lost when that person goes. People then have to reintegrate into a team that's already working. So it's a much bigger cost, I think, than most leaders think it is.
I think so for sure. And I have an incredible team. They're hardworking, they're innovative. But I think the thing I love most about my team is we're so well rounded and we're such unique individuals from different backgrounds and perspectives. And we all really value work-life balance. And it's so important to us. I mean, we do, you know, vacation. We have a bunch of weeks for vacation, and then we do 2 weeks off over the holidays during Christmas and New Year. So we do a 2 week closure, complete closure for the company. We do a week in the summer. So we don't really align with the North American vacation packages. Like, to me, the fact that people get 2 to 3 weeks in the year to disconnect, that to me just doesn't make any sense. And how are you supposed to recharge and give yourself some space between the business? I find that my best work is done when I come back from vacation because I'm recharged, I'm ready to go, and it gives me momentum. And the more times that you need to recharge to come back and do better work, power to you. You need to understand the way that you work and the way that you're motivated. And then beyond that, just like paying above market rate for your employees and understanding that living in, and our employees are split between the US and Canada in most of the major cities like Chicago, LA, Toronto, New York, Vancouver. These cities are very expensive to live in, and the fact that the salaries haven't increased with the rate that inflation has also seems very short-sighted to me, because some people at companies are making what I did 16 years ago, and there's also no sort of I would say adjustment if you're living in Thunder Bay versus downtown Toronto. So to me, paying above market rate so that, even if they're considering leaving you, it would have to be an opportunity cost because you're, compensating them for the value that they're bringing to their business. And then beyond that, we have a very strict rule at Quill, which is you are not to be working past 5 p.m. and you are not to be working evenings and weekends and holidays. You do not get a badge of honor by working overtime. In fact, it is usually a conversation. It is celebrated to come in and do your 9 to 5 and do your job well and efficiently within those hours. And if you cannot, that is a you problem, because the CEO and the founder is not working overtime. And if I am not working overtime, there is no reason why anybody else should in the company. And so those are sort of the, I would say, values we've instilled at the company. And to me, it just gives me so much joy watching my team work from different parts of the world, because you can work remotely from anywhere, watching them travel, watching them hit significant milestones in their life, having children, but not being stressed financially because we have a mat leave top up that's like so significant, and not worrying about benefits and health and family coverage. And those are the things you shouldn't be worrying about. You should be worrying about doing your job well between the hours of 9 to 5 and not wanting to leave, because if you were to leave, where would you go?
Right, right. Wow. So you've just named off a whole bunch of things there in terms of, topping up on benefits, in terms of giving extra vacation time. I love that you actually close between, at holiday time and in the summer. It's very European,
It is. We're
very
very
European to
European.
do that.
We're
Now,
not European,
do
but
you
we
do
act
any,
European.
yeah, yeah. Now, do you do anything around in terms of stages of life? Like, for example, if like you talked about maternity leave, but what if somebody just adopted a child, or what if somebody maybe just lost, a partner or something? Do you do anything around that as well?
Course. So in terms of the mat leave policy that we have in place, it is irrelevant whether you're having the child yourself or you're adopting a child. Like, mat leave and pat leave is extended to both parents, and it doesn't matter what sort of stage you're in. The other thing I would say is we have a very sort of healthy bereavement policy. Um, it doesn't just extend to family members or people that you're close to in your life. It's also pets. So if you lose your dog or your cat, or, you know, pets are definitely a member of your family. And I think it's kind of shocking to me how companies don't include that in their bereavement policies. I mean, if something happened to my cat or my dog, there's no way that I'm coming back to work for a while. So you know, we think of it from like, we want to treat people the way that we would personally want to be treated. And then in terms of defining how many days you get off, it's however long you need to be able to feel like you're ready to work again. Like this whole concept of you get a week off and then you have to be at work. Like I am not going to be back at work after a week if I lose a family member. And so I think it's just a matter of treating people like human beings and putting yourself in their shoes and knowing that if you had lost a family member, how long would it take for you to feel like you could come back to work? Well, you can't define that. You can't quantify that. I think I have employees that might want to come back after a couple of weeks because work is a distraction. And I have people that might not want to come back for 6 months because they just physically can't, you know, be present. And I'm not going to judge your grieving process. I'm going to work with you through that grieving process, because ultimately your employees are not just a number on your payroll. They become a part of your family, and we're not treating them like just a number. So we have a very healthy bereavement policy. Oftentimes, thankfully, nobody has lost a family member. Goodness, I don't even want to think about that. But we have had team members that have lost pets, and they've taken a couple of weeks off, no questions asked, fully paid, and they come back and they do their best work. And I think that that's why no one's left.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. I think we're going to have the link and then everyone's going to want to go and work at your company.
We are hiring. We're hiring for a few roles right now. So if you're a full stack developer, a producer, a content person, please do apply because we are looking.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's really good to know. Okay. One of the funny things that you shared is you shared your autoresponder when you go on vacation. Can you share that? I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where I think clients and customers lose sight of like what's important in life and perspective. Everyone thinks that their disaster or crisis is truly a crisis. And I would like to sit here and like reimagine and reframe what an actual work emergency looks like. And if it's an emergency, you can absolutely reach me while I'm on vacation and I will respond. But 9 out of 10 times it isn't. And so my out of office is please remember that we are doing PR, not ER. But feel free to tweet at me using hashtag interrupt your vacation. And honestly, it gets the message across. Usually then clients will double think about whether or not they want to reach out to me while I'm on vacation or my employees are on vacation. And I think it also sends a message to our customers that we are protecting our culture and our employees. And it's very hard at agencies, especially because I think there's this mindset that you work around the clock for your clients. And that's why most agencies are a sweatshop. And that is very much what we have prevented at Quill. And I think it sends a message to clients that we will do really great work, but we also really value our work-life balance.
Yeah, I think it's really important for work-life balance that people can just turn off completely because there's always this kind of psychological, stuff going on if you think that at any moment you could be interrupted. And I love that too. Like, why have we created this kind of urgency that things need to be done right now on a Saturday or on a Sunday? And you're right, you're doing PR. It's not like someone's going to die.
We're not
You know,
neurosurgeons.
right, exactly. So it seems though that our culture has really created this culture of urgency, like I gotta get it out, gotta be competitive.
Yeah.
What do you think is driving that?
You know, it's a very North American culture. It's a very, and I would say specifically Toronto and New York as well sort of falls into the same category. It's almost this like constant sense of urgency. Life is a race. You have to get there. You have to get there faster. If you don't, there's 1,000 other companies that they can work with instead of you. And I mean, I just want to ask people to stop and pause and think about what matters to you in life. Is it closing 100 contracts a year and having no life, or is it closing 90 contracts in a year and having the best life? It always comes down to like, how do you define success and how do you define a well-rounded life? To me, success is not 100% the cash flow in your bank. It definitely is a part of it. I think cash flow is important. It's one of many different milestones that we're trying to hit. But I think being balanced is so important to me as a CEO. And not for any reason other than this is the life that I want to live. This is the culture I want to create. We shut at 2 weeks over the holidays because I don't want to be working during the holidays. We shut for a week in the summer because I want to take a week off and go to the cottage. We have a lot of vacation because I want to be traveling every month and going somewhere new. We don't work overtime because I have friends and I have a family and I have a life outside of my job. And that's what makes me a good CEO. There's this article that I would encourage everyone to read. It is written by a palliative care nurse. Her name is Bonnie Ware. And she works in palliative care at one of the big hospitals in the US. And she obviously is working with people like on their last few days. And she decided to interview a set number of her clients and patients. And she asked them, what are their top 5 regrets? And actually, I'm pointing here because here, let me see if I can pull this off of my wall. I have the 5 regrets framed in my office right next to me. And I look at this every day. It's called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And the top 5 regrets of the dying are, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself and not what others expected of me. That is everyone's first regret. The second is, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. That is everyone's second regret. The third is, I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. I wish that I had let myself be happier. These are the
What
5
was that?
rules.
What was the fourth one? You kind of clicked out there.
I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends.
Wow.
And I wish that I had let myself be happier. Now, this is data. She interviewed a set number of her customers and put out an article. These are the top 5 reasons that these are the top 5 things that people are thinking about on their deathbed. And I don't want that person to be me. I tell my partner this all the time. I hope I live a really long life. But if I died tomorrow, I would know that I lived the best life possible and I would do nothing differently. And if I felt like I needed to do something differently or would have, then I would change it in present day reality. And so I really encourage people to read this article because it was life-changing for me.
Well, maybe we'll include a link then. That would be
Yes.
great if we could include a link. Thank you.
Yes.
That's inspiring. And I referenced that as well in my book when I wrote my book because I
Oh,
thought it was,
amazing.
yeah, because I just thought it was really profound and that, people didn't really regret the things that they didn't do. They were, they regretted more the things they didn't do, than
Exactly.
anything they did, right?
That's exactly
Um,
it. So don't
so
work so
Fatima,
hard.
just yeah, but that's so inspiring. I wish I could just bottle you up, bottle this
Oh,
juju that you
thank
have and
you.
bottle it up for everybody because I think it's really important. And if you had a message for other business owners and founders and CEOs, what do you think if they're thinking about doing this for their employees or thinking about well-being, what would be the first thing that you would suggest that they start doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be write a letter to yourself or think about where you want to be in 30 years and like what's going to matter to you. Are you going to remember that contract that you didn't close? Are you going to remember working until 5 in the morning? Or are you going to regret not taking that trip? Are you going to regret not being at your kids' birthday parties and soccer games and hockey matches? Guarantee you in 5 years, what you're worrying about right now or working overtime for is not going to matter. What matters more is those, real life moments, those memories, being a well-rounded parent, friend, partner. And
Yeah.
so I think Quill has shown that you can be a very successful company and have a lot of profits whilst being a well-rounded person and having balance in your life. I do think it's possible to have both. And I think that I hope everyone sort of strives to achieve that. And listen, I want to be honest, balance isn't balance every day for me. I am the founder, and some days I do have to work a little bit harder and make a few sacrifices, but then the following week I'll make up for it. And so balance is balance over time. And in the earlier part of my career, I did not understand that. I was that person working 24 hours. I did not take that trip. I didn't prioritize being a well-rounded person. And I regret that, but I have very much changed that philosophy in my life.
Nice. And so how has that made a difference to you?
Oh my goodness, I think I'm a much better CEO. I think my company is successful because we're so balanced and well-rounded. I think that's why nobody has left. I think that it gives me clarity to show up to work every day, not exhausted and not tired, but recharged and ready to go and motivated. And most importantly, I love my job. On my worst days, I would rather be here than anywhere else. And I think that I'm not looking to get out. I'm not looking to, get the quick sort of exit and then, retire so that I never have to be stressed again. I mean, of course, there are days that are stressful, but I think it's possible to enjoy the journey. And I think if I was working the way that I used to in my former life, I would be very resentful and I would burn out.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that's no good. That doesn't contribute to success
Yes.
at all.
Yeah.
Well, this has been wonderful. I wish I could talk to you for another 24 hours, but
Yeah.
we want to keep our balance too.
Yes, balance.
But thank you so much. So thank you for being the inspiring CEO that you are. Thank you for inspiring others. You've certainly inspired me. I'm 100% sure you're going to inspire all of our audience with this interview. So thank you for taking the time. I know you're very busy. Thank you for taking the time to share. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Louisa. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Great.